Hey, can you hear me? Okay, good. Let's just pretend we're on a call. You and me. No script, no pressure, just a real conversation, heart to heart. Welcome to InnerThreads. This podcast, it's not a lecture, not a sermon. It's more like those late night calls where time slows down and everything feels so honest. Like sitting with a friend and randomly you just travel 5 years back in time and you're bawling your eyes out over a guy who did not treat you right. Where we talk about the real stuff: burnouts, healing, growth, confusion, peace. The threads that run deep inside all of us. Now, I started InnerThreads because I wanted a space that felt safe, like a call from someone who just gets what you're going through. And now here you are. So take a deep breath, find a quiet corner, and I'll do the same. And let this be your little pause for the world. I'm your host, and this is our first call. Let's talk. So, today we're going to talk about a very neglected, mostly neglected topic, which is childhood and how it shapes us as a person. Now, many of you might be 20, less than 20, more than 20, God knows. And all of you all have gone through stuff in your lives, and many of you don't even remember the things you've been through when you were a child. But what if I tell you that everything that you felt ever since you were a child is still engraved deep within you? Like, for instance, an incident where your mom scolded you for something that your brother did. I'm sure many of you will still remember that particular scenario and you'll still relate to what I'm saying. Like, you'll remember those small, tiny incidents that happened to you throughout your life. So, obviously, these things have an impact on you. Like, giving you an example, ever since I was a child, there was this crazy expectation that I needed to do well in exams. And by well, it does not mean over 90%. It means a 99%. Like, there should be zero error for mistakes. Like, there should be no scope for mistakes. You have to ace your exams. There's no other way out. So I used to be very studious, used to study a lot, used to go to tuitions ever since I was a kid, and used to study, work hard before exams, and get a very good result. Like, I used to get over 99%. But eventually, when I used to slip by a 0.5 or like 1 mark, I did not get the response or the credits that I deserve, because I still worked hard for that exam, but it's just that I didn't get enough marks. But that was not my fault. I tried, I slipped a little, which is human nature, you can't help that. But I remember I did not get appreciation, or even nobody used to console me that it's going to be fine and you did well. People used to say that, okay, you slipped, but you need to do better next time. So that thing just it was wired in my mind that I need to do better. Like, I can't just settle for nothing. I need to do better every time, but not in a very positive or healthy way, in a very unhealthy way, wherein I valued myself based on how I used to do academically. So that thing just, it was not, I was not kind to myself. I was very mean to myself. I used to be harsh on myself. But over time, you would normally expect that this particular person who is struggling with such grave issues regarding his or her studies would become very studious eventually. But what happened over years, when things started getting difficult, like you reach 11th grade and 12th grade and things become more difficult, I was not able to catch up with that performance that I had already, or appearance that I had in front of my parents and all. So I became very, I used to make plans every day. I remember frantically writing on and jotting down plans. Okay, I'll study from this to this, and then I'll rest from this to this, and I'll spend 9 hours of the day studying, and this and all that. And nothing used to work. I used to make plans weeks after weeks after weeks, and nothing worked. To the point where I was so burned out that I gave up on it. I gave up on that feeling of like gratification, or like feeling that I fulfilled or achieved something. And I started doing the bare minimum. And suddenly, when I started letting go of the expectations I had for myself and the things I needed to prove to the world, life just became so much easier. I'm still struggling with it, but life just became so much easier. Things were so much better. I used to perform a lot better. Not obviously not as good as I would expect, but for even the minimum efforts that I was putting, it was not bad. The results were not bad, and I was like, maybe all throughout these years, I was just doing certain things that were unnecessary. So I'm not promoting that people should study less. I'm just saying that the more you force yourself, the more difficult it becomes for you to actually achieve that thing. The more you obsess yourself, or the more you obsess over a particular thing or a particular result, the farther it goes away from you. The sadder you become, the more depressed you become. But now imagine this scenario, that you are working hard, but you have no expectations of how the test is going to be, or how the results are going to show up. So what happens? You're already detaching yourself from the result. So even if the result is bad, for instance, it won't have as much effect as it would have had on you. Now imagine you're obsessing yourself, or you're obsessing over the result. So you're working very hard, but you did not get the result, for instance. You would be absolutely, you'd be crushed. You'll feel like you're not worthy enough to be here, which I felt for most of my childhood, or most of the years. So this is a very important. Another thing I'd like to say is, whatever you, from childhood to adulthood, especially when you're a teen, everything you do on a day-to-day basis somehow wires within your mind. For example, you wake up at 6, you will have that habit throughout your life. But if you wake up at 12, you will have that habit throughout your life. It is very difficult to rewire that within your brain, because I read it in a book that nerves that fire together wire together. That means when you're doing a particular action on a daily basis in the same way, those nerves which are making you do those actions will wire together, because they're getting stimulated every day. So they'll wire together, and you would unintentionally start doing things. That is why when you want to make a habit, people usually say that you have to stick to it for at least 15 or 20 days, then only you would adapt that. If you stop even for 1 day or 2 day, you have to restart. You have to start from day one. Your progress would be on day one. So engraving this thing, if you're below, like if you are below 20, or like it 20 or you're in your 20s, it's still easy for you. You can still wire what is going on within your head. You can change the way you do things on a daily basis, so that eventually after a week you'll see the changes yourself. You'll see that you woke up for a week straight you woke up for a week at 10, for example, or at 9. You'll see that you'll eventually wake up at 10 the next day after a week. Now, the next day you'll be very sleepy. But at that time, you have to follow what I usually do is I follow the 3 seconds rule, 4 seconds rule. I count to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I give myself 4 seconds to wake up. Like, you have 4 seconds and you need to wake up. That has really helped me a lot, because that way I kind of subject my brain to just make quick actions based on what I'm supposed to do next. So it's very helpful for me. You guys can try it as well. But what I'm trying to say is, if you have to change your patterns or the thought process you've had throughout your life, so you need to start now. You need to start today, not tomorrow. I don't want to make this video too long, but like, I think this is enough for the first call. I hope if anybody of you has any questions, if anybody of you wants to ask something, or like wants to have a conversation with me, you can leave it in the comment section below, and I will answer all of y'all's questions. And if anyone wants to share their own experience or their stories, I'm ready to share them in my podcast anonymously, obviously, if you want that to happen. So yeah, I really hope that you will visit again for another call, or you'll call me again. I will call you again and you have to answer. So yeah, I really hope you got something from this video, and love you all so much. Bye bye.